For TRICHOMES.com, I'm Ashley Manning, and this is Careers in Cannabis. On this show, we sit down with staffing agencies, cannabis companies, and other industry professionals to discuss employment opportunities in the burgeoning cannabis industry. Today, we sit down with Bryan Passman, the headhunter and founder of Hunter and Esquire, a husband and wife retained executive search and staffing firm. On this episode, we talk about some 2021 predictions for open opportunities, salaries, and what the headhunter is honing in on as he hunts for his next candidate. Hey, Bryan, welcome to the show.
Hey, Ashley, thanks for having me.
Well, it's great having you back on the show. You were on the show in June of 2020, right in the middle of this pandemic. So I want to start off with a personal check-in with you, Bryan. How has it been since June for you personally?
Well, personally, it's been good. We've stayed healthy in our family, and it's brought our immediate family closer. We've been sheltered in place in a big way for 10 months now, and it's not been easy, but for our immediate family, it's been good. And we've found ways to keep busy and deal with it.
Good. Always good to hear. Make sure the closest people to you, we never spend enough time, I think, with the people that we love, and this is literally forcing us to. So I'm enjoying it. I do miss the rest of my extended family, though, for sure.
Oh yeah. That's the big negative for many of us.
Yes. But on that, there is a positive side to this. We are in an essential industry and we are continuing to thrive and grow. And when we had you last on, you mentioned that sales and biz dev roles were hot and finance and operational roles were a bit slower. Has that switched up or has that stayed the same throughout the rest of 2020 and where we're at now?
Yeah, things have changed a bit. Well, first off, thanks for having me back. I am glad I didn't screw it up too badly last time. We have, when we spoke last time, it was definitely a different landscape. It was pretty rough out there. I think for us, everything bounced back pretty well starting late July. I remember because it was my birthday week, and I thought, all right, it's a happy birthday. So we got, we kept pretty busy with sales and biz dev roles throughout it all, as you mentioned, and that has continued. Those direct, growth, revenue generating roles have stayed pretty prevalent.
Absolutely, need that.
You sure do. I'd say now, although we are working a marketing role right now, I would say that the marketing function has probably bounced back the least from our vantage. Finance roles have come back pretty strong. We have some work in that arena. Operations roles, big time. Market, multi-market, cultivation, processing, operations leadership roles. The regulatory compliance function has been strong for us and in legal. We've done a lot of regulatory compliance leader and chief legal officer GC work lately, which has been fun. So, it's I think that we can safely say hiring in cannabis is back in a big way. Yeah.
Always, that's a good thing. I think it can save the entire economy of where we're at right now. So lots of opportunities. And I believe they extended the unemployment as well for people. And it'll be interesting when that unemployment runs out and people are forced to actually look for work along the way, as they should have been along the way. And this is a huge opportunity for them to break into a market and find their niche as well, because all those roles that you've mentioned, they've all come from mainstream industries and can be parlayed into cannabis specifically.
Yeah, it's been said many times. I agree. There's really a spot for anyone in the industry. Doesn't matter what your skills are, what industry you're coming from. There's a spot. Trick is finding that right spot.
Absolutely, and that's part of what you do as you're hunting for the best candidate for your clients. Do you guys also? Never mind. We'll get into that when we're talking about Hunter and Esquire. So, going based off your experience and the crystal ball that we all have, what do you predict the cannabis industry will create in 2021 in terms of jobs?
Yeah, I think it's going to. Did you almost just do a 2020, or did?
I did.
It's new. It's
I
still
caught
new.
myself. It's early.
Yeah, we're only 5 days into it. That's right. Yeah, I don't know how many jobs and what types of jobs will be created in the industry in 2021. I think um, it's going to be a lot. I would be betting on a lot of job creation. I've seen figures such as it's 20%, I think round about 20% year over year growth in terms of cannabis industry jobs creation, which I think is a fair assessment, but my crystal ball is admittedly on the fritz, so I don't have a real number, but it'll be a nice number.
That's we'll see where it goes. I've seen tons of people giving their crystal ball predictions, and not sure who really to listen to. But either way, it's growing. It's not stopping, and I don't think there's anything getting in the way of it growing as an emerging industry.
Indeed.
What states are hottest at the moment for jobs? Are there, we got 5 states that came on board, but I'm not sure if they're actually developing just yet operationally. But what are those hot states for jobs at the moment?
Yeah. I mean, the usual suspects have maintained active for us. Those more mature markets like Colorado and California, they've stayed pretty strong. Florida, where we reside, that's a big growth engine right there. We got flower sales approved in our market this past year, and a lot of patient count growth. So that's good for business, good for jobs growth here in our home state. We saw a lot of new markets come online. We've worked some opportunities in Oklahoma and Missouri, which has been pretty fun. We have some clients ramping up in Arizona with expanded legislation. We haven't done any work in Michigan, but that's a hot market. Massachusetts has been big, as has Pennsylvania for us, and I don't think we're there yet, but soon we'll see those neighboring states like New York and Maryland and New Jersey with adult use coming online. Those will be big.
Fingers are crossed.
Definitely fingers crossed. I think those will be hot markets. So it's just, I know I'm saying a lot. The good news is I just think it's a healthy mix of continued hiring in the mature markets and lots of hiring in those newer markets. So, I mean, border to border, coast to coast, we're looking pretty strong. And I'm not a rose-colored lens type. I like to keep it pretty real.
I know you're not.
Yeah, but so that's my 2 cents. It's all good on that front. So everyone be happy.
I appreciate I like to say bluntness to people, because it is very real. So that's always good when you're looking for an opportunity in any field, that the person you're working with can be very forward with you versus trying to sell you on positions to fulfill their quota.
Yes, we are, I think, at the end of the day, in a sales job here, but we try to treat it like more of a education consultative type of process.
Right.
I would do terrible at selling cars. I'd probably starve.
I agree with you. I'm the same way. I'm too honest sometimes. So what's the deal with salaries? I know some recruiting companies have come out with salary hiring guides with salary expectations. But for some of our listeners, so they understand their expectations of when they're entering the industry, are salaries higher or salaries lower? Are they about the same? What's your insights on salaries?
I'm very happy with where salaries have moved north. I think for the most part, you're seeing salaries comparable or better than the mainstream. In some cases, tremendously better. I think in a lot of your hourly waged roles, you can earn a lot better in cannabis. For us, we specialize in executive placement, and we spent our first couple of years at it moving people in for lateral cash comp, best case scenario, typically a small to large cut, but that's changed quite a bit. Salaries are healthy, and many of the markets, I think that there's going to be some tough learning from some folks in Missouri and Oklahoma that are, I think, hiring on the cheap a little bit, in my opinion now, which makes sense. I mean, those are already saturated markets. Oklahoma just blew it wide open. So it's a very competitive landscape. But outside of those markets, we've seen salaries quite high. So I'm a fan of that for some reasons. I did like, for some other reasons, the challenge of bringing people into the space from the mainstream for less or comparable. It's sort of a good litmus test of their interest in entering the industry. I think it's a slippery slope when, cash comp is great and equity is exciting and you get to join the best industry around. It's sort of like a no-brainer for many people, and maybe causes people to stop less and not think as much about the move as maybe they ought to.
Yeah.
But it's good news for people in the industry who are moving around, who can really leverage their talents to earn more, because a lot of people that have been in the space for some years have been working for a lot less than they should have. So it's good to catch them up.
Yes. That's been what I've been personally trying to do, professionally trying to do in the industry. Started out almost 5 years ago, and not making the greatest of salaries and pay, but it's all paying off. I see it as I'm learning at the same time as I'm actually working, because every single day I'm learning something new, whether it's a skill related to marketing or whether it's actually something about the plant. I'm constantly learning. So to me, that's a win-win situation. And I hope other people see that as well when they come into the industry. Not look at the salaries, look at the opportunity available to them. If they're in their 20s or 30s, their career is just beginning, and they can really go far once they learn the basis of cannabis and understand how it operationally works through the supply chain. It's something that I'm passionate about, and can't wait to see more people come on board with it.
Very well said. Yeah. I mean, and just real quick on that, it's great to skip the case of the Mondays blues that a lot of people in other industries suffer from. I don't think we have a lot of that in this industry. I don't think people dread Mondays and just work for the weekends. It's a tough space to be in, right? We know it'll beat you up on a regular basis, but there's no dull moments, boring days. You have to kind of hop out of bed and attack it, and most of us do.
Know how to juggle and figure out, and if you don't know how to juggle, learn how to juggle.
Learn fast. Yes.
And passion can take you far. This will be, we're getting onto that passion topic a little bit, and every single one of my interviews this past month have been talking about passion, how that can take them really far, because it's that, you need to have that hustle, that get up early in the morning and want to be at work, and that's not something most people have. So
I feel for those people.
I love Monday.
Yes.
Friday night I rest, and all weekend I honestly can't. All I'm thinking about is Monday. I can't wait to get back to work.
Isn't it great?
It is pretty awesome. So let's talk a little bit about you and Hunter and Esquire. I know you guys are a husband and wife team. How does that work?
It works surprisingly well. It's not easy. It's not all rosy. I think the most challenging part is just never stopping working, which is kind of nice. I mean, there's a lot of efficiency there, where if I have a thought at any random moment, I can talk about it with my most key business partner, who's my wife, Jessica. She's the Esquire in Hunter and Esquire. I'm the Hunter. So it worked well.
I love that. The analogy between the two of you.
Yeah. Thank you. It was a fun rebrand we went through last year, and I think we won with it. I haven't heard any complaints yet. She's great. I give her all the credit for inspiring me to do this, and it kind of works because she doesn't want to do what I want to do, and the reverse holds true also. So I feel like I get to do all the fun stuff, which is like this. I just get to talk and engage with people, and she manages all the unfun back of the house contracts, agreements, collections, and whatnot. So we're a boutique agency. It's Hunter and Esquire, and we have a third partner. After that, we have a team of contract recruiters that we use for various searches. And, we don't have any brick or mortar. We all work from home remotely. I think that helped us survive the pandemic and slowdown in hiring in an easy way. We didn't have pricey office space in New York City or downtown Chicago or LA or anything like that, and no heavy salaries to carry. Everyone works for equity and performance comp, and that kind of helped us survive it well. I mean, I was a recruiter through the '08 recession when 70% of recruiters went out of business. So we were very mindful of that when we started. And Jessica is the last person that wants to spend big. She just wants to win and let our win speak for them, ourselves. And we don't need a shiny, fancy office space to impress people. So lucky.
I like that.
Lucky to have her.
So have you seen, since you were a recruiter in '08 during the recession, are you seeing a lot of the same thing happening right now, or if maybe we're not there yet?
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, that was a different, I guess, inspired recession. It didn't have really the negative impact on people's lives as it relates to their true health and wellness and just livelihood. I think,
Very true.
yeah, I think I think we have a long recovery ahead from this one. In 2008, I was a recruiter in the med tech industry, which I think, similar to cannabis, didn't really have much of a downturn. Medical device companies still needed to produce and innovate and sell life-saving and life-improving products. And thankfully for us in cannabis, we were deemed essential. So I guess it was a similar experience, just with this time around, unfortunately, a lot of people dying and less people losing their homes as it was. But I think we still have that to look forward to with this recession recovery, unfortunately. Like you said, though, I think cannabis can save it. We ought to look at the cannabis economy as an opportunity for the country to bounce back in a big way. It should be a catalyst. So hopefully some people in DC are listening to this video cast. Make it happen.
I hope so. I hope so as well. And if they are, cannabis can also save the planet too.
Amen. It can save all of it.
So what are some opportunities that you are currently headhunting for?
We're actively working a couple of vice president roles over regulatory compliance for some multi-state operators. We have chief legal officer, GC role. We're retained on a number of director, VP, and chief level operations leadership roles.
Not to sound ignorant, what's a GC?
Oh, sorry, general counsel.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you. For our listeners as well who might not know.
Yeah, sorry. That is the general counsel of a multi-state operator is a large job, especially with a large multi-state operator. I think we're working with about a 5-page job description for one of those right now. That's a big wow. Yeah.
Wow. That's a lifetime, I feel like, of experience put on a resume.
It should be for the right candidate. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And as mentioned, we do have our first marketing search. We have a VP of marketing role that came up recently. That was the first in a long time. So I'm excited to engage with some of our friends in that function. There's been a lot of good cannabis marketing talent sidelined for far too long. So I'm excited to get one of them back in the game. I think that's our short list of active searches. We're a retained search firm, so there's a long list of contingency stuff out there with companies. Just sort of, you can throw a resume at it and hope it sticks, but that's our retained list.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So is there any? I know you guys you more focus on executive level roles, but there's still got to be some skill sets that you're looking for. Do any of those executive roles, do they need to have cannabis experience? I personally feel like an executive can come on board and take their operational experience and put it into cannabis and not really need to know about the plant, but like your insights on that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think, but like most things, it depends. It depends on the state of the life cycle that company is in, and do they really need someone to put everything in place. And, in that case, someone who's got more of a plant touching background could be of more help. In the case of the searches we currently have, these are companies that have done well going from 0 to 60, and they're looking for more mainstream executive leadership skills to help their lieutenants, we'll say, find a new gear and get everything from 0 to 100 and take those operations from being deemed good or even great by cannabis industry standards and elevate them to good to great by any industry standard. That's sort of the part of the evolution conversation that we're having with a lot of companies where there's some process and procedure lacking and some definition to KPIs and metrics so that we can measure success more than just, hey, we all showed up today and had some fun doing some good things, so we were successful.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. So it was
in the industry.
Yeah. I mean, which is fine. I mean, you can have a lot of fun with that, and that's good for, or we'll say okay for a certain amount of time, but
Absolutely.
Yeah, not forever. So I think for our first couple of years, again, it was really largely an ask for people from the mainstream. And now so many, great talents from the mainstream have entered cannabis. Really, for just about all of our searches, there's some degree of cannabis industry experience desired, because really for any role you're trying to fill now, there's a lot of talent out there that have moved from the mainstream to cannabis. So you can get the best of both worlds, really, at this point. Those people that are really thriving in their leadership roles in any function that have that background are, commanding a premium right now, as they should. So those are fun conversations. But it's there's always an open door to someone right out of the mainstream for various roles if it's not plant touching. But they really better have a passion for getting in the space and be really ready and willing to fight for a spot in the industry, because they're not the preference anymore. That's for sure.
How can you tell if someone has they're honest about their passion when they have great leadership and executive experience and operational, but they've never been in cannabis? How can you tell that they're being genuine about that passion?
Well, that is a good question. You can, some easy things you could do are video chat and, sort of play the game of we're going to look each other in the eye and have this conversation. For us, a lot of it is repetition of contact. It's not a wham bam process with us. So there's usually there's a series of conversations even leading up to the first interview, and then a lot of conversation in between each interview. And it's repetition of, why are we doing this, and why are you interested, and what do you like about this, and just hearing them have to speak about it time after time. And it should evolve, and the interest should increase. You should feel an increase in that enthusiasm. And if it's a fatiguing interview process and they opt out or start getting cranky about it, it's probably because they were being disingenuous. And I think the best leadership talent that's passionate about getting in appreciates a rigorous process, because they, really rightly so, should believe that their peers in the company were hired that way. So there's a better chance that the right people are in the right roles.
Yeah, very good insights on that. That sort of my next question for you. What would be some advice you give someone who is looking to enter the industry? But it sounds like you answered it.
Yeah, if you're sort of kind of curious about entering the industry, I'd say just stay away for now. It's a tough space to be in, and it's not for the kind of curious. If you think you're really passionate about working in the space, best advice I could give is, speak to others, anyone you can who's been in the space, and hear about how difficult it is to thrive in the industry, and really think about, do you want to work probably harder than you've ever worked before? And not to knock anyone. I know we're all Americans and we work really hard, and it really doesn't matter what you do. We're all hard at work. But I'd say there's a really good argument in favor of, the folks in the cannabis industry working harder than others. It's just we have higher hurdles, thicker brick walls to break down every day. It's just it's the most dynamic industry around.
Agree, but we love it.
That we do, without question.
We love it, and I appreciate the bluntness again, because that's not something a lot of recruiting companies, staffing agencies would say. This is a very difficult industry. That's the opposite of what you typically hear.
Yeah, it could be fun and cool when you're succeeding, but it's not just automatically fun and cool. That's earned over time, and those fun, cool moments are in between all the getting your butt kicked up and down.
I do feel that executives know, leaders and C-level, they know these things, no matter what industry they're in. And they know that this is going to be a tough industry to be in. And so I hope that all the applicants that come through and reach out to you guys are qualified for that and ready to take on that role. Because there's nothing more frustrating than getting a leader in who has that leadership skill, but just doesn't get the industry. So there's a little bit of a catch-22 there still.
Yeah. Well, but my advice to hiring companies is expect that you're inside your internal hiring team or the search firm you use is treating it like a numbers game. I mean, you have to go through a lot of people to really get comfortable with a short list of folks that pass that test to being qualified and a good fit for the industry and your company and the role, and build education into the process a lot. And a lot of people self-select out when they're not interested when we talk about the nature of these roles, because some of them might have big fancy titles, but at the end of the day, it's a lot more grunt work than you're going to get at that big blue chip company. It's a lot more roll up your sleeves and grab a mop or whatever you need to. And we talk a lot about that. And a lot of people say, whoops, I'm really not interested in doing that again. Let's talk when the industry is something else. And that's okay. Those people aren't bad.
Absolutely. Well, I completely agree. There's going to be a time where it's an actual industry, and we're going to need people like them to come on board and help us organize a little bit in a better fashion than the way we are at the moment. But that's with any industry, I believe. Getting off the ground is the hardest part and the dirtiest part. You got to roll up your sleeves at that time.
Yes, you do.
So, well, this has been great. Is there anything you'd like to leave off with? Any words, advice? You've given a lot of great insights for us as a staffing firm, and I admire everything Hunter and Esquire is doing, and that's why we have you back. So if there's anything you'd like to say.
I'd say you mentioned it a couple of times. My approach is blunt. I think I call it candid or transparent or something fancier, but blunt for sure. My message is to hiring companies and candidates to just be honest with yourselves and each other, and don't represent opportunities or cultures at your companies that are not correct to the candidates. Don't represent your capabilities that are not correct. It doesn't do anyone any good. You'll be looking for a replacement soon. You'll be out of a job soon. There's a lot at stake. We need this industry to survive. Every little setback in this industry is actually really a big setback. And there's a lot of, medical patients and consumers at large that rely on this industry succeeding. So let's keep each other honest and get the right people in the right roles at the right time so we could do this thing right.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Bryan, for your time today. And I look forward to checking back in with you in probably the springtime. And I anticipate double the amount of opportunities available to our listeners at that point as well. So thank you so much, Bryan.
My pleasure. Thank you for what you're doing.
My thanks again to Bryan Passman for being my guest on today's episode. You can follow our series, Careers in Cannabis, as well as more great shows like this one at TRICHOMES.com. If you're a member of the cannabis community and you have a story you want to share with us, please reach out. You can reach the show by emailing careersincannabis@trichomes.com. Please take a second to subscribe to the podcast and write a review. It really, really helps others to find the show. You can also join in the discussion with industry insiders by visiting trichomes.com and following us on all social media. For trichomes.com, I'm Ashley Manning. Thank you for listening, and be well.